Okay, so we're basically recording. And I just want to say welcome to anybody who's joining for the very first time and who's tuning in. We're gonna upload this to my YouTube channel. Hopefully, it should be up by the end of the day today. And I'm just having a conversation with Tala, and he's a therapist. And I guess I just met you when you did a live with the in the DRP, I believe,
Uh-huh.
a while ago, and then I sent you a request.
Mm.
And then I reached out because you said you were a therapist, and that is something that I'm kind of, considering. I told you like I'm wanting to go the social work route, right?
Hmm.
You did, if I'm not wrong, you did counseling, right? Like mental
Right,
health counseling.
right, correct. I did the counseling psychology particular. I know there's a, uh, I know what mental health, there's like a clinical mental health route you could go. And there's not really, at the end of the day, there isn't a big difference because we both get the same license. But I know clinical mental health, they focus more on evidence-based research. Um, and there is this research component that a lot of people work toward. Whereas counseling psychology, you do my program, they did have a research track, but many of us who wanted to go the practitioner route, that there was a lot of focus on the individual strengths. So
Okay. Yeah, so before we get started, this is something that I ask everybody to kind of just tell us, where you're from, where you're based, You could share where you're based and then where you are from, like ethnicity wise.
got you. So I'm Tyler Drame. I am a licensed professional counselor in the state of Maryland. I'm originally from Adelphi, Maryland. Shout out ADP for anyone who does watch this and know that the PG County area, Pretty Girl County is what they call it. Um, I was born in the Gambia, but I was raised. I came here when I was 3 months old, and this is home. It's been home ever since. Uh, Prince George's County is the first home I ever knew. So I spent most of my childhood there and adolescence, and then I eventually moved to the county over. That's where I went to high school, did community college there, and then I relocated to Baltimore. That's where I did my undergraduate degree at Towson University and my master's degree at Towson University, and I've been in the Baltimore area ever since.
Oh wow, mashallah, that's amazing. That's a lot of degrees.
Right, it doesn't stop. It doesn't stop. I'm
Or
now
do you want to
pursuing.
go all the way to
Sorry?
the PhD?
I don't know, not right now. I don't foresee it in the near future. I currently am in another master's program. I'm doing my master's in chaplaincy with a specialization in Islamic chaplaincy. So marrying the spiritual care and the mental health piece. And that's been wearing me out. I'm like, damn, I don't even know why I went back to school again. But I mean, Alhamdulillah, it's a blessing. I was blessed with the opportunity to go back. I love to learn. I guess
Mhm.
what makes it not as fun is when I got deadlines. So, I mean, but that's the reinforcer. Because if it was up to me, I'd probably just be lollygagging. But
Yeah, that's the only thing that's holding me back in completing this application is the homework.
yeah, it is. It's, you get so much work and you're picking and choosing what you want to read. But, recently we just had class and our professor, we were talking. Many of us were saying how we were behind. She was like, you don't have to read everything. You know,
Right.
what you miss will come back eventually later on, and
Hmm.
whatever you don't finish, you can always refer back to. A lot of this stuff is it's just references, right? I mean,
Wow.
they're materials that we use in our field and for our own professional development, but they're references that we will always have access to, like books and whatnot. We can always go back to.
Wow.
So I've been trying to keep that in perspective.
That's really awesome. Like I talked about this in my previous interview that I recently went back to therapy. Like I go like once a week and it's virtual.
Mm.
And one of the first questions all my friends asked was like, is she Muslim? Is she, wholesome? And a lot of people did ask me if my therapist was Muslim. I mean, there's not that many, but I'm
Mhm.
in Austin, and a lot of the therapists that are here in Austin, Texas, like I already know them.
Yeah.
And so there's going to be that, kind of like you can't really know them, like they're not your friends, basically,
Yeah.
It's kind of like you need to have someone who's going to be objective.
Right.
And I mean, it wasn't important to me that they were Muslim to begin with. Because I'm like, I have a dentist. That dentist is not Muslim.
Right.
But as a therapist and who is Muslim, do you think it's important for Muslims to seek out Muslim therapists?
I see therapy as it's wherever you are in the chapter of your life, right? I've been
Hmm.
to therapy 3 times, and I just now got a Muslim therapist. The first 2 times they were, the person before that was Muslim, but the first therapist wasn't Muslim. And again, it all depends on your preference, right? I
Right, right.
understand people want a Muslim therapist because it aligns with their values and the way they see life, their worldviews, or whatever the case may be. But I don't think that's a prerequisite to engage in therapy. But on the other hand, I do understand because a lot of people, prefer. I know for me as as a black individual, many people prefer seeing a black therapist because they're able
Right.
to relate to their experiences as a black individual in America or wherever you may be in the world. So you want that familiarity, right? There's a certain culture with black people that you might not get when you work with someone else, right? And the lingo
Yeah.
and all that. So I understand. I don't think it's what's the question? The word I'm
Required
looking for. I don't think,
or
yeah, it's like
essential.
mandatory. It's not
Yeah.
mandatory, right? People are like, oh, no, it's bad. I need to have this, and that's okay for you. But I think when you start to tell people, oh, or you're inquiring about people, and I'm sure the men were well intended, but when you're inquiring about, oh, is this person Muslim and whatnot, we have to remember that just because you're Muslim doesn't mean that one, you may not practice Islam the same way I practice or have the same philosophy
Mm.
of Islam that I do, right?
Right.
Two, you may not even you may be Muslim but not practice it, and that's okay.
Right.
If that's your own business, right? But just because you're Muslim doesn't mean that you're going to be this person that will help me alleviate all my problems. No, so
Yeah, I appreciate that. I like how you said it's where you are at life, it's what season you're in. 'Cause with me, like as long as it's someone in Texas, because I don't even think she's in Austin. I think she's like in either San Antonio, and she is someone who is, like a brown person. So like, she even asked me once, even though like she sees me and she sees me in a hijab, she still asked me like, what religion do you practice,
right.
And so I was kind of like, as therapists, like, do you I don't even know if you're allowed to bring up religion, as a provider, you know what I'm saying? Because you obviously have clients of all faiths, right? Like
Yeah,
you see people of all different backgrounds. And I'm just not coming here for any spiritual guidance. Like my
yeah,
thing when I first started with her was like, I want to work on my self-esteem, my confidence, and like my sense of like self-worth, Like we
right.
started in like on Labor Day, okay? Labor Day this year. And we're going strong. It's, the holiday season, so we're traveling and it's hard to meet. So my next time I'm going to see her is going to be probably December.
Yeah,
And so I was like telling her how like we always bring it back to the self-esteem, the confidence, like the main thing. Like I'm not more like seeking this to work on relationships, but like the relationship with myself.
right.
And we finally did that test. You know that attachment style test?
Like this anxious, secure attachment. Yeah.
Yes, yes. Yeah, we did that one. And it was really cool to kind of go through the whole thing with her. And,
Hmm.
everyone's always told me, oh, you have like an anxious attachment style. But when we took the test, it was actually secure.
Mm,
So I was
yeah.
like, in your face, to everybody.
Right.
Because we put the work in. We've been working on this since like September.
Hmm. Yeah.
And she's not also my first. She's like my fourth therapist. And this is someone who I'm like, I think I'm going to go forward with them because it's hard to switch because they go back to like the intake and they're like, let me get
Yeah,
to know.
right. You don't want to start all over again. Um,
Yeah, and you're just like, let me just relive all this trauma with
yeah.
a new person now, you know?
Right, right. Nah, I feel you. I think that, like you mentioned, you're benefiting from it, and that's the most important thing. You're not there for religious guidance, right? And her even asking, "What faith are you?" shows that this is something that I'll incorporate into our sessions. I'll keep in mind, right,
Right.
as I'm working with you. And that's at the end of the day, that's what we, people who are seeking, whether they're working with a Muslim counselor or they're a Christian counselor or whoever, Jewish, they're just looking for their values to be honored. um
Yeah.
and there was something else you mentioned, how, oh dang, I was literally about to say it.
I'm sorry. I was like, I know this is not a
Yeah.
therapy session,
No, no,
but
no,
I
no.
was letting it out.
Yeah, no, there was something else you had mentioned. Dang, it'll come back to me, but
Like the self-esteem, the sense of self-worth, and we've been working together and like, you know, I mean, I know I said a lot because like I was like, this is something that, maybe one day I'll be on the other side because you're the provider, you are not exactly, but you're kind of marrying the two, you said, right? Like
what?
going forward in the future. Like, do you see yourself working at a mosque and providing therapy to Muslims and non-Muslims?
That's a good question. I don't foresee myself working in a mosque. I like solely in a mosque. Maybe if my services are needed, someone needed to speak with me or something, I might be open to that. But to having an office in a mosque where people will receive counseling, that's not at the forefront of my
That's
mind.
not the goal,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
It would be more like maybe at a campus, right? Looks like
Right, 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 right. So
university.
yeah, so the chaplaincy I want to pursue it is university chaplaincy. So, and then I think over there you do have a variety of people. There are adults there. I know it's predominantly young adults, but you do have older adults who are at the institution. So maybe if that is because chaplains don't, they're connected to a specific faith tradition, but they're not necessarily in the places of worship.
Yeah, they from what I understand, they're in college campuses or like at a
College campuses,
hospital.
hospitals, prisons. You got airport chaplains. You got veterinarian chaplains. They're all over. The field is growing for sure, especially uh, for individuals who aren't, because it originally came out of the Christian tradition, so now it's expanding.
Oh wow. Oh my God. That is so fascinating. I did read your article that you wrote that's in your bio.
Oh, appreciate it. Yeah.
Yeah, so you do a lot of like interfaith stuff?
Right. So the institution I go to right now is called, it's Hartford Seminary, International Seminary, and they have this interfaith component. I have class with people who are Jewish, Buddhist, Christian, Sikh, the other different faith traditions. So I have done a lot of interfaith work in the past, and it kind of, as I heard you say, your friends ask you, is your therapist Muslim? I just think about how sometimes we have this narrow minded version or vision of what people are and should be, right? And I Allah tells us in the Quran He's made us from many nations of tribes so that we may come to get to know one another. So
Yeah.
I just think here in our context in North America and the United States, you could be neighbors with a Sikh, a Hindu. So
Yeah.
that's my religious. I mean, that's my worldview, and I
Right.
want to be in a space where all of that is incorporated, right? And also, I'm in
Yeah.
the field of counseling, so I'm working with individuals from different backgrounds. So I didn't want to, interfaith work is something that, um, I'm really passionate about because the more you learn about other people's faith, their background, and their values, etc., the more it sharpens your own, right?
Right,
Um,
right.
it requires you to go look back at, okay, what's my faith tradition say about this? All right. So,
Oh wow. You're doing some amazing work, for the community.
Right. Thank you. Praise be to God. There's a lot of
Yeah,
it. So
mashallah. Like, and I love your self-care Sundays or Saturdays, is it?
yeah, self care Saturdays. Self care. I
Right?
try to keep up with it, but
Every
yeah.
Saturday we'll see you punching, the
so
punching bag or right or
right,
boxing,
right,
right?
right. Sometimes I try to mix it up. Like I know there was one time I posted I was on a boat. Uh,
You did a
sometimes when
5K
I'm reading
or like a
5K, I did do a 5K, my first 5K. One of my boys, childhood friend I grew up with, he was like, "Yo, let's do this." And I was like, "Dang, man, I don't know if I can run 5K," but we did it, man. Thank God.
what was your time? I mean, you did it in a really good time too.
I did. It said I finished in like 30 minutes, but I think I finished a little. Oh, it said 30, 31, something like that. But I didn't start timing myself until um, I I was a little bit, probably 2 or 3
But that's
minutes.
still like a good pace.
Yeah,
That's like a 10-minute mile. Like I
yeah,
I did the I did the Gaza 5K. It took me an hour and a half. We just
yeah.
walked the whole thing.
Right, and I think that's also what slowed me down because at the beginning there were so many people walking, so you're trying to like. But I see people. Yeah, in my heyday when I was really active, because I used to wrestle, I could run a mile in like 8 minutes. I think my best time was seven something, but yeah, I'm a little
Oh my
bit.
God, you're an athlete for sure. Like 100%.
Yeah, yeah. I try to stay fit. I do love
Right.
sports. But yeah, 30 minutes. I'm happy with my time. I definitely that's what I was aiming for. So I didn't
That's
practice as
that's
much
a
or
really good
prepare.
time for someone who did
Yeah,
their 5K just out of nowhere on a random Saturday.
yeah. So I guess the self care Saturdays did prepare me for that. And it's really a mental game. You run in, you try not to think about the time, or you're not looking. I just keep on going, just like keep on going, keep going. My boy he kept saying, "Ain't nothing but some work, ain't nothing but some work."
Right.
So I just kept repeating that to myself. But yeah,
Yeah, you have a really good friend group. Like you're
oh
always
for sure,
posting
for
all your
sure,
friends and like you have a really strong support system.
for sure. I'm definitely blessed. I'm definitely blessed. I think about that every time. I know people be like, "Dang, this dude posted another person," but when I reflect, I'm really blessed with the community. Um,
Wow.
Yeah. So, and these are people that I've been friends with for 10 plus years. Um,
Wow.
yeah. So it's definitely been a blessing.
Yeah, I know that you do have to go soon, right?
Yeah.
And I don't want to take too much of your time because I did say it was going to be what, 15 to 20 minutes, you know?
Yeah.
And I mean, as abrupt as it is, you're working, I'm working,
Right. 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 No.
and I was like, we can kind of start to wrap things up, if there's anything you want to share about your advice or self-care tips
Oh,
to, the brothers
yeah.
and sisters who are struggling.
It's funny because we just had an assignment about this. What's self care for us?
Hmm. Hmm.
Um, and I don't be fooled. Instagram, all that stuff. It's a highlight reel. I just show you all what I want y'all to see. There are times I'm boxing and my head is down because I'm like, yo, this is tiring. And there are some Saturdays where I'm not engaged. I mean, I guess I'm relaxing. And
Right,
self
right,
care,
right.
yeah, self care. We have this idea of self care is like going and getting your matty, your petty, getting a massage, etc. Self care can just be
Retail therapy,
yeah, retail therapy, buying something. Self care can literally be something is putting on lotion. I remember when I was doing my first master's in counseling, my professor had said she had a client who said I stopped putting on lotion, and I realized that I was not doing self care. I was like, dang, I never thought about it like that. Something that's simply putting on lotion is part of your self care. Because I mean, you're moisturizing yourself, right? You're taking care of your skin. All right. A lot of us are mindful of the products we use that can impact our skin. So that's a
Right.
form of self care. Self care isn't anything big, right? That we often see on social media and stuff. It could be something simple, as long as it's you pouring back into yourself. That's some self care.
Oh, wow. Yep. We're right on the dot here. So basically, what I'll do is I'll end the recording and
Hmm.
I'll just take a little bit of time for it to upload
Okay.
to go on my YouTube channel, and you can revisit it when you can see, like, I won't basically edit. It'll just go just the way it was recorded.
Yeah, I think everything was fine. Everything was fine.
Yeah. Okay,
Short,
yeah,
quick.
well, one of these days we got to have like a longer conversation.
Yeah, part two. So we'll do that.
Like after the holidays.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. After the holidays, we can do a part two. That maybe you come up with some questions if you want to
Yeah, I'll come up with
podcast
some
like.
questions and I'll email them to you or I'll send them to you on the DM.
Yeah, yeah.
Because, I'm
Sounds good.
always sending you messages, right? Every Saturday. You're
Yeah.
like, remember that one time when I was like, what's a cookout? And you're like,
Yeah. I would like
are
to
you
that
serious?
for real. I'd like to say.
Alrighty, well, we'll see you hopefully and sometime in January, okay?
Okay, sounds good.
Okay, have a good lunch.
You too. Take
Bye.
care. Assalamu alaikum. Bye.
Bye. Welcome.